episode.
I've watched most of them from this season. Ryan Gosling's was really funny.
All right, we are a minute and a half away from going up.
Yeah.
Please lock in. Thank you.
What do you say?
Did you just tell us to fuck it?
I just heard lock in at the end, I think.
All I heard was fuck it.
I said we're about to be live.
We'll do it
Everyone
live.
lock in.
Okay, no cursing, no talking about anything personal. We're going live. No Trump voices.
No.
The studio, so you can talk via the phone in there. Give me the phone.
Welcome to WEBN-TV's live coverage of the 2026 NFL Draft held in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. I'm Jules Mazzolini, and I'm here with Ali Evans, Everest Leach, and Daniel O'Toole, and we are joined live at TD Garden with Emily Champagne currently. We are very excited to get into this first round pick. How are we feeling? Guys, how are we feeling?
Feeling good. Super exciting. I think, there's maybe the narrative around this draft class specifically that it's not the strongest of recent years, but I think there's still so many good players to be selected. I'm super excited to see where they end up going, and I think drafts like this specifically are where good teams separate from, the bottom of the pack because there aren't as many, blue chip, high caliber players. So you really have to do the scouting. You really have to find the best fit for your team. And I'm excited to see how it turns out.
Yeah, I agree, Everest. I mean, this isn't like a flashy NFL draft like 2024 where it's such a quarterback-heavy class. This is more of your milk and bread class. This is where you're going to get a lot of your foundational pieces on the defensive line, your linebacking core. This is really going to be a strong draft for a lot of teams that need a lot to work with.
I think that's a good point you make, Everest, about this being what separates good teams from bad teams, at least in terms of how they're ran, because, we were just talking about it before we started. There's a few teams in the top 10 that need everything, that could really use some help in every single position, in every single aspect of the field. So it'd be really interesting to see what these first few teams select. I know we kind of have an idea of who's going number one, but after that, it feels a lot like a free-for-all.
Yeah, definitely. I feel like in previous years you kind of know who's going and what's going to happen next, and I feel like this year it's really anybody's game after, I would say, that one pick. Like, I feel like after the first pick, I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen, and I'm really excited to see how this plays out because there is so much talent. Let's talk about Ohio State here. So many picks.
Don't get me started.
So many prospects.
It's like Georgia a couple of years ago.
This is an insane draft class for the Buckeyes. We're going to get to talk about at least a couple of them here tonight, whether it's Arvo Reese, whether it's Sonny Styles, whether it's Carnell Tate, the wide receiver. Huge fan of Caleb Downs at the safety position. Yeah, just a stacked class, and my dad, who's watching from home, who's a Michigan fan, is hating every second of it.
And I'm loving every second of it. I'm excited to see, some Buckeyes go. I feel like usually we see like one quarterback go from them, and we're not really getting that this year. Obviously, we know Ohio State doesn't produce quarterbacks like they should be, but it's really exciting to see them produce other positions other than like wide receiver as well, which I feel is the most common. I
agree. I think even not to phase too much away from Ohio State, I'm not a hater, but that's a good point on the quarterback situation in this draft this year. It's pretty thin after Mendoza, which is interesting because there's a few teams that could stand to take a quarterback at some point. I mean, I think outside of him, I'm thinking Ty Simpson and I mean, who else? So that'll be interesting to see for these teams who could pick up somebody to help form them.
Yeah, I mean, there's been some weird like Diego Pavia hype as we've moved closer to the draft, but I think Ty Simpson's really the only other guy we're going to be looking at in this first round. And then after that, it becomes, who can be a depth piece for you maybe, which is unfortunate, as you said, Allie, for those teams that really need a quarterback this year because they're probably not going to be able to find their starting guy. So that becomes, who else can we get? What other needs can we shore up? And for a lot of teams, I think this draft is going to be kind of a best player available type of situation when we're looking because, as we've said, there aren't an immense amount of true standouts where it's like, you have an Aaron Donald in the class. There's not many of those. There's not many Joe Alts on the offensive line. So it's going to be really interesting to see how teams value both position and then, just the overall talent of these players.
Yeah, I remember even going a year ago, we were talking about what this draft is going to end up shaping to be. It was going to be that quarterback-heavy class. There were names like Drew Aller, Cabe Klubnik, Garrett Nussmeier. Those were the guys who we were for sure, and even Arch Manning, even though he was a junior, we were for sure going to say, oh, this is going to be such a quarterback-heavy class. A lot of teams are going to be able to find their signature caller of the future. But that's just the nature of how college football works. Even a year from it, we actually even knew probably about 8 months from the draft that everything was going to be different. So it's definitely hurt this draft's notoriety, I will say. But this is definitely a class you shouldn't be sleeping on.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think a lot of people are overlooking a lot of the players in this draft class.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you can go down, I think specifically on the defensive side of the ball, like there's a lot of players that maybe aren't going to be all pros their first couple years in the league, but are going to be able to step in early on and contribute to winning football. And so I think that's, again, we're talking about the good teams separating from the worst teams. The great teams, the great organizations, the organizations that are well run and draft well every year are going to have a real opportunity here to find their guys, to find their special fits. And again, it's always an amazing process because we never truly know who's going to go where. We never know if they're going to work out. But we can try to find, what's the fit look like, what does the team need, and how do the players drafted fit into that equation.
I think that's what's... No, you go ahead.
No, I remember we were talking about it just before we went up. There could be an Alex Leatherwood maybe of just a pick we have no idea coming through for any team because, like you said, or like we've been talking about, this is a best fit draft. This is going to be a lot of guys who all the experts can be saying, we have this guy on our big board and it's going to go here, 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 but it could be a completely different situation going on in all these teams' war rooms.
I think it's one of those drafts where it's like, I mean, you look in the past and look at some of your top players in the league right now. It's like not all of them were drafted in the first round. So I think people get caught up in the flashiness and the glitz and glam of the draft and these top picks and things like that. But I mean, it's like going off of what you guys were saying, there's a lot of teams who need a little bit here and there and just need contributions. There's a lot of teams that almost made the playoffs last season but are just missing these last few pieces. And that's where, a night like tonight comes in and we'll see who chooses to capitalize off of this kind of stuff.
Yeah, free agency does a lot of the heavy lifting, but truly a lot of the best teams we see, a team who just made the Super Bowl, just won the Super Bowl, the Seattle Seahawks, that was a team built through the draft, built through an organization founded on phenomenal drafting, finding those guys in the later rounds. But starting on night one, this is where you start off, you got to hit the ground running to really kick off a strong draft class. And a team like Seattle did that last year.
Yeah, totally. And I also think a draft like this shapes up for maybe a couple of little trades here and there on draft night, and I don't think we're going to see a ton of major jumps from teams because, anytime you have a trade, it takes two to tango. A team's wanting to go down. I think we have a lot of teams who might be looking to trade down. Somebody's got to come up. So I think it could be a lot of those like moving one pick up, moving two picks back, stuff like that. So I'm really excited to see how it all shapes out and what the little nuances are behind the scenes from these GMs and coaches.
Yeah, super excited to see the chaos begin. The Las Vegas Raiders are officially on the clock. Roger Goodell has opened the draft. What do we think is the best pick for them? I know we all have the answer.
I mean, we've known this since probably October, I'd probably say. It is Mr. Heisman Trophy winner from Indiana University, Fernando Mendoza.
Yeah.
We've known that. I mean, for a team like the Raiders, yes, there's so much going wrong with them, but you need to draft your signal caller right here. When you have the chance, especially like we talked about earlier, how much fluctuation can happen with the quarterback position from how we start to look at a draft at the beginning of the college football season to how it shapes up. When you know you can get a definite guy like Mendoza right here at this time, at this position, you have to capitalize on it.
I think maybe there's also a little bit of anxiety for the Raiders. I mean, the last time they had the number 1 pick was 2007, and it was Jamarcus Russell.
And how did that go, Allie?
So we'll see. The last time they picked a quarterback, number 1 overall, it was certainly a quarterback. So
that's one way to put it.
It will be interesting to see how they decide to shape him and build him, if of course they end up picking him, barring something shocking. But I mean, they need an identity right now, and they need some morale, and they need some hope. And I think that the fans see that, and I think the front office sees that in Mendoza. So
yeah, and I mean, Mendoza might not be coming into the best offensive situation, but you have guys who. You have some pretty good skill positions coming in. Yeah. You have Ashton Gentry, who they drafted with the 6th pick last year, who might not have had the strongest rookie season. Now have another year under your belt. But I'm really excited to see what this potential Fernando Mendoza to Brock Bowers connection is going to be like.
Yeah.
We've seen what Brock Bowers has done in 2 years. Last year,
with lackluster
quarterback play, maybe not the most healthy season, but Brock Bowers, when we know he is on, he is a dog. Like he came from Georgia.
Yeah, I'm super excited about that connection. Obviously, barring something crazy happening, I do think Mendoza's the pick here, and it makes sense. I mean, we haven't gotten any signs that they're getting cold feet at all. The Raiders seem to love this guy. Yeah. Tom Brady, who has an ownership stake, seems to love this guy. He's sung his praises. And some could say they're wired a little bit similarly in their. Fernando Mendoza just seems to have this crazy work ethic about him. I mean, I know Daniel Jeremiah was reporting that they've got him on these VR training simulators, and Mendoza is just in there for hours a day, apparently. Which, if you look at his history and his performance, I mean, that adds up. It seems like he's kind of going to try to do everything he can to maximize his potential. What is his ultimate potential? I'm not entirely sure, and I'm not entirely sure what that is on a team like the Raiders, who still, as we've said, so many pieces that they're going to have to go back into the draft and get with their quarterback. But it's got to start somewhere.
Yeah, it's really going to come down to development for this team. I mean, we were talking about it again earlier. It's like you can pick the greatest quarterback in the world, but if you don't choose to develop him and really put some time and effort into this guy, what is it all for?
Yeah, I mean, they have to look at our Super Bowl champion, Sam Darnold.
Yeah.
Who goes to the Jets and flames out and is called a bust, and then dances around the league to, again, some subpar organization, finally finds his home in Seattle. There you go.
Yeah.
I think a big thing that we've sort of noticed recently, I feel like across the board in sports generally, is we need to give more time for these young players to develop. We're putting a lot of pressure on. I feel like especially you see it in a sport like baseball. I'm out here watching a couple of games of every time I see a highlight and it's Jordan Walker on the Cardinals who debuted, 21 years old, number 1 prospect in baseball. People are already calling him a bust, but it just takes time with a lot of these players, and we're really starting to see that development tree with quarterbacks now in the NFL. We're seeing it with a guy like Sam Darnold. I think potentially we could see that. If I'm going to give my take, I could see that with a guy like Kyler Murray next year with that Kevin O'Connell system. So, barring a really good draft here for the Vikings, they could really make some noise in an NFC North that the Bears did end up winning, but I still think there is still a good amount of questions around.
Yeah, totally.
So the pick is officially in, and the Las Vegas Raiders have selected quarterback Fernando Mendoza.
Wow. Shocker, right?
From Indiana. Obviously, a very dynamic quarterback, college football playoff national champion. 3,535 yards in the 2025 season. Yeah. 41 touchdowns, only 6 interceptions. Crazy stats.
And a 72% completion percentage, very accurate. And I think the thing that maybe, any NFL teams are going to love about Mendoza is just his frame and his size and the toughness that he pairs with it. I mean, this guy is 6'5", he's 225, so he's built. We've seen so many successful quarterbacks, really have a stature like that, where it's like they're kind of mammoths out there, whether it's a Justin Herbert, a Josh Allen, going back to, Tom Brady wasn't the most athletic, but he's 6'5", 6'6", and I think that's going to really help Mendoza out. And then the other thing that I want to highlight as someone who's spent a lot of time with Mendoza, knowing he's probably going to go number one, is he always rises to the occasion, and always did in college. He played his best when the moment was the biggest, whether that's against Penn State, who they were kind of at risk of losing to, and that Penn State team did not have the year they wanted. Indiana has to have the touchdown drive at the end of the game to win that, and they do it. Mendoza leads them down the field. He's awesome. And then throughout the college football playoff, against really solid teams, he always rose to the occasion. And that's a trait that I just can't ignore, especially at the quarterback position. You need somebody who's going to be level-headed, always ready to lead their team, and always rising when the moment demands it of them.
I think that's even becoming more and more of one of the heaviest criteria for NFL quarterbacks is that clutch gene. I mean, you can play well all season, but you get to the playoffs and you choke, and now all of a sudden you're the worst quarterback in the world. I mean, I'm a Cowboys fan, so I know the story all too well. But I mean, I think that he has this ability to finish. He has this ability to take his team to the end, and that is something that's so unique about him. It's like he's not just peaking at the wrong moments, you know what I mean? He knows how to carry his team through. Hopefully that translates to the NFL. I think that's one concern I have about him. Indiana, I think, had a very unique scheme and a very unique system. They ran a lot of, very RPO heavy. Yes. And so I'm wondering how he will be able to, even with his size, even with his attitude, even with his work ethic, will that translate? Again, we were just talking about developing players, so sometimes it may give him time. I don't think that we should, jump down his throat if he doesn't play amazing next season, but that will be something interesting to see how he develops and how long it takes him to develop.
Yeah, I could definitely see the Raiders almost on a similar Bears trajectory where you end up picking Caleb Williams number 1 overall. Even though he doesn't have the best rookie year, you still end up picking in the top 10, but then you're able to take that next step when he's a sophomore, when you have more time to develop. And we've seen Caleb Williams this year. He became the Iceman. He was the reason why those cardiac Bears stayed in the playoff hunt. Unbelievable run by the Bears this year. Such a joy to watch that. So, we could be seeing still some struggles from the Raiders. They still have a lot of gaps on their offensive line that I would like to see them patch up and really start to find their identity as a team, especially on the defensive side of the ball. And we could be talking, it's 2027, what can the Raiders actually do now, which is a crazy sentence to say.
Definitely an interesting sentence to say. Mendoza, I've heard a lot of comps to Joe Burrow. And I want to hear what you guys kind of think about that.
I don't know. Even going back to college, I mean, Joe Burrow, his senior year, was probably the best college football quarterback season we will ever see in any of our lifetimes. Burrow was just such a playmaker, and he also had that clutch gene. He was able to put up monster numbers that we will just never, ever see replicated.
Yeah, that's what I kind of feel is similar as that clutch gene, almost like rising to the occasion. Obviously, we've seen Burrow kind of slide a little bit as
it did help in Burrow in college. Just how talented that LSU team was.
Yeah.
He was throwing the ball to 2 all-pro, probably future Hall of Fame receivers.
Yes,
Which I think
and people who are going to get
picked.
picked.
To consider with Indiana too, it's like that was an older team, and those were really, really experienced guys. And so I think if you're going to compare them to Burrow,
but they're not as big names.
I think even that
they weren't like 5-star.
They're not as big.
They're
not
if you go
5-star.
by the talent composite, they weren't as high up on the list as the Georgias and Alabamas.
I agree with that. I think they are, obviously not comparable to LSU when Burrow was there. But I again, just to reiterate, I'm really wondering, with the team he was in, the system he was in that was built around him, with Kurt Cignetti and all of that, how is that going to work? But I see the comparisons to Burrow. I think that's a good point, and I actually hadn't heard that comparison before.
Yeah, I think there's some similarities. I think Mendoza's a little bit bigger, a little bit more maybe physically imposing than a Joe Burrow, but in terms of the accuracy, that sort of clutch gene, I think different styles, but still very strong from both ends. And Allie, I understand what you're saying about, like, the system he's coming from in college may be very different than what the Raiders or any NFL team would ask him to do.
Yeah, I'm going to have to cut you off there because
we have another pick.
The New York Jets have made the selection with the second pick, and it is David Bailey.
Wow. Oh. Wow. So this pick...
This kind of shocked me. Texas Tech edge senior, 32 solo tackles on the 2025 season. He is the fastest D lineman.
Yeah.
His 40 was insane. He's 6'4", 250, ran a 4.50 40-yard dash. That's pretty good, I would say.
It's not bad.
It's not
bad.
I'm gonna shout out a close friend, former host of the Box Score, Noah Berkowitz, and I'm just gonna say I'm sorry.
You're sorry.
Yeah. I don't think David. You had a golden opportunity to draft Arvell.
I'd say
that's what I said to you guys 20 minutes ago, and no one agreed.
It has been Arvell Reese. We've been saying his name for months on end. He's the guy that you can build your defense around. But you go with David Bailey.
Hey,
I shouldn't expect anything else from the Jets. I'm sorry.
Here's what I'll say about David Bailey. I do think, as a pure pass rusher, coming into the league, he's going to be more ready than a guy like Arvell Reese would have been from the edge. He's just so quick. The 14.5 sacks, the 19.5 tackles for loss. He was an All-American this past year and helped that Texas Tech defense out tremendously. But I do agree with you guys that if the Jets were really building for the most versatile kind of long-term future, Arvell Reese would have been my pick too, as I think he can do so many different things well and is still a good pass rusher and really came on at Ohio State at the end of the year. But I'm not going to sit here and dog on David Bailey. I think especially if he can become kind of an every down player where they don't only have to bring him in on, obvious passing situations, he can be a contributor, and he's definitely an athletic freak. As we've said before, the speed is just ridiculous.
I mean, David Bailey is very good, but I do think the Jets should have taken a little bit of a leap of faith here and gone with Reese. I mean, he had a stellar season. And I don't think they're necessarily comparable. I think they're both very good on their own. And they each had two completely different years, completely different teams, totally different college football just scene that they're both in. But, Arvell Reese, he's a pick you don't want to miss.
The versatility that Arvell Reese can bring to the field, I feel like reminds me of a guy like Micah Parsons.
Yes.
He's a guy who, I remember when a lot of teams were looking at him, it was a similar situation of, we can build this guy to be a pass rusher, we can build him to be an inside linebacker, an outside linebacker. You could really have, he's a defensive coordinator's best dream.
Yeah.
He's the ideal situation. And for
he's a chess piece.
He's the chess piece.
Yeah.
He's what you can build your defensive identity around. And that's what I saw in Arvell Reese. That's what I still see in Arvell Reese. So any team that he will now fall to is getting the golden opportunity.
I know. Yes. I think I'm very surprised that he was my surefire number 2 pick. Arvell Reese was. I mean, this is your off-ball linebacker. This is your off the edge. When you say versatile, this is who I'm thinking of. And I think Micah Parsons is such a good comparison. I mean, maybe he'll drop the 12 and my Cowboys would pick him up. I don't know.
That would be
because then I would be just.
You guys would win the draft.
Oh my gosh,
that would be an Aaron Rodgers NFL draft.
You guys would just win the draft right there.
Yeah, I'm shocked by this pick. Not to shade on Bailey or anything, because I think he is a good pick. He's a good edge. I do not think that he's better than Arvell Reese at all. I don't. And I mean, it's the Jets, so I guess this kind of makes sense. But
it does make sense just for how the Jets are and developing players too. They're not great at developing young players.
It's true.
So maybe I'm kind of happy that Arvell Reese avoided this.
I'm sure he's very happy.
I'm sure he's elated right now, and he just won't admit it.
No, I think it's a great point about the Jets organization. And when you don't have the best track record at developing players, maybe that points you more towards, they know what they're getting with David Bailey. And they don't have to think too hard about how to use him. It is line him up on the edge on passing downs and let him speed rush the heck out of the offensive line and go get the quarterback.
Yeah.
That's what he's going to do. I do think, Arvell Reese, again, we've said it so many times, just a more versatile player, more upside there. But I think it's interesting that you mentioned Micah Parsons with him, because I think there's a Micah Parsons comp to David Bailey as well in a totally different way, where it is his greatest asset at the end of the day, Micah Parsons, was his speed, his quickness off the line, and his ability to get to the quarterback. David Bailey has that as well.
I totally agree with that.
Hey, I'll say it now. Dante Moore, you are a New York Jet next year.
Gosh.
Don't rule it out. Don't rule anything out. That's what I'll say to that.
Can't rule out
You can't
anything when it's
That's
New York
what I'll
Jets.
say to that.
Nothing ever.
Yeah,
Jets are going to jet.
Yeah.
the Jets are gonna jet. I mean, we got the Cardinals up next. Their pick is in. We're moments away from hearing maybe they take Reese.
It's wide open for the Cardinals. I
It's
think.
wide open
Yeah,
currently. What are we
if
thinking?
you're the Arizona Cardinals, I feel like they're in a similar position defensively where there isn't really anybody who I feel is a super strong standout on this team currently right now.
Yeah.
I do really like the season that Will Johnson had with them last season, coming in as a second round pick, but I think Reese would just be such a great fit here in Arizona because they can really make him into anything they want, and that's what this team needs right now.
Yeah.
Well, let me break it to you. The Cardinals pick is officially in. The third pick in the NFL draft is Jeremiah Love.
Wow.
Whoa!
Wow.
Running back. I mean, truly another phenomenal player.
Well,
I mean,
yes.
Wow.
Yes.
Of course, Notre
Yeah.
Dame Junior.
Give him the flowers. He
Yes,
deserves
yes.
them.
18 touchdowns, 0 fumbles. Third in Heisman voting. All-American. He's 6 feet 214.
I mean, he had some 64 missed tackles. I mean, he's kind of a beast. I think this would have been a winner for any team.
I totally agree.
Yeah, I agree, and I think this pick, more than any we've seen so far, and maybe more than any we'll see all night, screams about what we were talking about at the top, which is pick best player available, pick, best fit. There aren't going to be as many positional value home runs, and in a draft like this, taking one of the better running back prospects of the past several years. I mean, I think he's close to Ashton Genty from last year, and anyone who knows me knows how much I loved Genty last year. I thought he was unbelievable, and I think Love. I love Love. I think he is.
Don't we all love Love?
We do. He's a dynamic weapon, and he can add to the pass game as well, which the Cardinals will definitely need. And Arizona's really one of those teams that is hurt from the quarterback situation of this year, because that's really what they needed, and there just wasn't anything. We've heard they like Ty Simpson further down the draft, so I think this was really a case of Jeremiah Love's the best player. Let's get him. He's here.
I think even he can get some more development. I mean, he's the kind where you can kind of flank him out wide and use him in this whole new offensive scheme. And you've got these two new fresh guys in Arizona with Michael Fleur and Hackett. So there's some potential there for something new. Those are two pretty experienced guys who I think can mold him if necessary. But I think that he's solid almost as is, I would argue. I think every rookie can develop in any way. But, this is a very solid back, and I think it's a solid pick. And if I'm a Cardinal or a Cardinals fan, I'm very excited.
Yeah.
I feel like my only worry, if there is a worry to throw on Jeremiah Love coming out of the draft, has just been what can he do as a workhorse back? He has always had such a strong running back room around him in college in Notre Dame, and now you're going out to a running back desert, quite literally, in Arizona.
Hey, you get James Conner back, maybe?
James Conner, who's coming off of what, a torn Achilles?
Yeah, it's not great.
Yeah.
It's not great.
It's not a good situation. So I am curious to see how will Jeremiah Love's efficiency, how will that look? What will his durability look like? A guy like Ashton Genty coming out of the draft last year, we didn't have those concerns because he was Boise State's offense.
Yeah.
It was just every play, handoff, handoff, handoff,
and
handoff.
even he saw a big efficiency hit in his first year with the
I
Raiders.
totally agree. And now that we have the first 3 picks in the draft, we do have our reporter Emily Champagne live at TD Garden to talk to some fans and just give us a little update on how people are really feeling about this. Emily?
Thanks, guys. Sports are in full bloom here in Boston. The Celtics and the Bruins are both trying to win their respective matchups during the playoffs. But the New England Patriots are also coming off an impressive win against both the Broncos and the Bills. While they weren't able to convert in the Super Bowl against the Seahawks, you definitely have to look at that improvement that they've gone throughout the entire season. However, going into the draft, you kind of have to think of what do they need to improve upon today and what do they need to keep adding on to as well. I think they have to look to their offensive line, look to maybe get a wide receiver, an edge rusher, or an offensive tackle in there. I think there's a ton of different options from Texas Tech, Missouri, and just other options out there for that. We're going to be live in a couple different spots throughout the draft, and we're super excited to bring you live updates. Back to you guys in the studio.
All right, welcome back. We are going to go to a quick break and come back to you with the 4th pick in the NFL draft. Stay tuned.
The Titans taking, if not our
Ruben Bain, maybe?
Sonny Styles. Special production of the NFL draft. This is our live coverage, and we officially have the 4th pick in the NFL draft for the Tennessee Titans. They've selected Carnell Tate. Woo! Yes, out of Ohio State, wide receiver. I mean, obviously a top pick in the draft. Did I think he was going to go a little bit later? 100%. What are you guys thinking?
I mean, if you want to get a weapon for Cam Ward that you desperately need, I think this is a good pick. I think this is honestly, I think I love this pick. I don't think personally I would have drafted Carnell Tate. I personally am a little bit of a bigger fan of a guy like Mekhi Lemon, but I still think establishing a guy who can be your number one outside receiver, that is just a great pick for a guy like Cam Ward, who we know is such an explosive playmaker and can really drive the ball down the field.
Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, I like this pick. I'm more so just shocked that obviously Arvell Reese is falling down. My guy is falling down. I paid so much attention to him. But I love this pick for the Titans in Carnell Tate. I mean, no fumbles on the year, 875 yards receiving, 9 touchdowns. I mean, 6'3", 195.
Yeah, good measurables. Didn't test as like fast or athletic as some people wanted him to, I think, but he plays way better than he tested in the combine setting. I mean, just watch the guy play football. He comes from Ohio State and that wide receiver room, which has just churned out good NFL players over the past decade. I do think this is a pick that maybe signals that teams aren't really willing to do the trade so much at this point, because I do feel like Carnell Tate, maybe the Titans knew the Giants really wanted him, but I feel like they could have gotten him or a different receiver that they maybe had an equal grade on, a little bit lower down. But if they stay put, and again, Jeremiah Love off the board, you still got to get a weapon for Cam Ward. he's a pretty good option there.
I think it's a great pick. When I was looking at some of these top few teams and what some of their biggest needs are, I mean, for Tennessee, it's absolutely a weapon.
Yeah.
And I think if you're Brian Dable, who's coming in here, this is great for him. This is great for Cam Ward. This is a good choice. Like, I'm proud of the Titans. I'm really happy for them. This is great. And I think that he's kind of a different sort of receiver where, you know, he's versatile in the way that he'll block downfield and things like that. I actually think he's fairly quick. I know you said he didn't perform as well, but I mean, he's got quick feet, quick hands. I feel like this is the right pick for them, and this is, you know, if I'm Tennessee, I'm happy.
Yeah. Cardinal Tate just has a lot of intangibles I feel like you can't really teach. His ball skills when he's attacking the field deep, you just can't teach that. It's honestly phenomenal to see what he can do. That's a guy who, you know, when you're throwing the football his way, if he's got a good position on it, he's snagging that ball out of the air.
It reminds me a little bit of like a bigger Devontae Smith in that way, where it's just like the ball tracking. Gotta give my Eagles.
Gotta give your Eagles some love.
Gotta give my Eagles some love. But just like,
Of course.
so good with the ball in the air, locating it, giving himself the best shot to go up and get it, and then strong hands at the catch point. Yeah, I like it. And the other thing I really love about Cardinal Tate is his temperament. I mean, he has not even been the best wide receiver in that Ohio State locker room throughout the course of his career, but he didn't leave. In an age of NIL and an age of transferring, he said, no, I'm going to stay and contribute to this room as best I can.
Yeah, I feel like almost his character is what got him that 4th pick, you know, because I do think he's obviously one of the best wide receivers in this draft, but there are people who are just on that caliber with him. And I think it really may have came down to his character and how he's played and, you know, stayed loyal and committed. He's also just explosive, you know, like he didn't time very fast for the 40, but he timed fast. But to us, he timed fast.
Right.
To everyone else, he timed very
I'm going out there and
slow.
posting like a 7-second 40,
exactly.
It's going to be bad.
I could not
don't
even
put me out
get
there.
close to 450, but he's just an explosive guy downfield, and I'm very excited to see what he does with the Titans.
Yeah, I think it would be, especially too, him a couple of years down the line now, when he packs on maybe from more of that NFL size, that NFL strength, he could really be a scary receiver. He's already got a decent amount of the frame, and you know we could see that him filling that body out. He could just be an absolute monster for the Titans that they've desperately needed. You know, I couldn't even tell you in all my years of watching football the last time the Tennessee Titans had just such an elite wide receiver on their team.
Yeah, A.J. Brown. But
It's totally okay.
my other Eagles.
He's an Eagle.
Yeah.
He's an Eagle.
But ever since A.J. Brown, the Titans wide receiver room has been pretty dire. You know, they tried to fill it with like a Calvin Ridley here. You know, the guy that they drafted, you know, Traylon Burks didn't really work out. So they're taking another shot on a top guy. I do have more faith in a Cardinal Tate just because, again, that lineage of success from Ohio State, whether it is Garrett Wilson or Chris Olave from a little further back, whether it's Jackson Smith-Njigba, who just looked like the best wide receiver in the league this past year, whether it's Emeka Egbuka having a solid rookie season. These guys come in ready to play for the most part.
There's so many names you can name.
Do we really, is it time to start talking about the fact that OSU might be wide receiver you at this point? And
they are.
Have they snatched that from LSU? Can we officially say that?
Yeah. I think they have been for the past at least couple of years. I mean, and it's not even that they're productive at Ohio State. It's the fact that they can stay productive as they enter the NFL.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly. And Marvin Harrison Jr. is the like one little wrinkle in that where he just hasn't fully translated, but you know, maybe Cardinals revamping, getting Jeremiah Love, take some pressure off of him there. And you know, the best one of them all might still be in college with Jeremiah Smith. I mean, he's going to be unbelievable when he comes out.
Yeah.
Whichever franchise is lucky enough to draft him, they are getting a bona fide superstar.
Yeah.
Yeah, just for that development. And same with Cardinal Tate. You know, how are they going to develop a guy who has it all, it seems? You know, what do you do next? I
think it's definitely going to be, I mean, I feel like a broken record saying it, but it's more of that physicality upgrades for Tate. And I did have a little bit of worry with his durability. He missed some time with a calf strain, but I feel like with more of that NFL conditioning, you're going to get used to that. And you know, I'm excited to see it. I hope that I'm proven wrong and that Cardinal Tate can develop into this guy who we can say could be one of the best receivers in the AFC or in the NFL.
Yeah, it's also going to be, I mean, anytime you make the jump from college to the NFL, there's a leap. You know, the players are faster, the cornerbacks are better, and he's going to see coverages that he didn't really get a good look at. Now, I think one thing that really benefits him and all the Ohio State wide receivers is they were going up against a defense in practice every day that was running NFL stuff. With Matt Patricia, really running high-level stuff because their players could. Their defense was that talented. So I think it gives them a good boost.
Which I think is also the part of what may have made him attractive to Tennessee, the fact that he has some experience against an NFL caliber defense that other receivers might not have. And so I think he actually is coming in here with a little bit more experience and maybe a higher football IQ than some receivers might, just because of his experience at Ohio, which I guess points to your statement earlier about this being, receiver university. But I mean, we'll see. I think he can be developed a lot. I don't think that even as good as he is, like you were saying, I still think there's plenty of room for development, and I don't want to sound like a broken record either, but I mean, I agree. Any rookie can be developed and has a lot of room for development. You don't come into the NFL perfect. It's a whole different ballgame. It's a whole different league, and these players are in a league of their own, and I think that he's going to have some growing pains, I believe, in the beginning, probably. We'll see. But I think that I think he can grow into something special, especially with Cam Ward.
Yeah, I totally agree. The New York Giants are on the clock. Their pick is in. It's coming up in just a second. Any guesses? What do we think is going to happen here for the Giants?
I feel like your guy's got to go at some point, right?
I must be like the biggest Arvell Reese lover, and the selection has been made. The New York Giants have selected Arvell Reese.
Right on cue.
Perfect timing for us. I mean,
thank you, Arvell.
Just finally, I almost felt bad for him. But, I mean, just...
I'm jealous. I thought that I was getting hope a little bit that maybe he would drop the 12. Maybe we'll see. But, I mean, this is a good, natural instinct, foundational linebacker. I mean, this is a really, really great guy. And I think for a Giants team that needs some help on defense, maybe just a little bit, maybe a lot.
Maybe.
I think that this is a great pick. I don't see any issues here. I'm surprised that he dropped this low, honestly.
Yeah.
But I mean, they got something golden here, so I mean, good for them. Good for New York.
Yeah. I almost feel bad for your Cowboys now, because just as we were talking about how Arvell Reese could be the next Micah Parsons, you got to see him in
I was getting so excited.
2 divisional games now every single year.
Yeah.
But I absolutely adore this pick for the Giants. I feel like it was going to I would have loved to see either Reese, and if it wasn't going to be Reese, I would have loved to see a guy like Caleb Downs, because you just need
They could still get Caleb Downs at 10.
They could.
Yeah, the Giants are controlling the first half of this draft for sure. At least the first round. We're seeing a lot of
I think if we want to go into that Dexter Lawrence trade really quick, I thought that was a phenomenal trade by the Giants. I mean, you're capitalizing on as much value as you can with Dexter Lawrence before you have to send him a big bag. And I think the value, there's 2 really strong values within that trade. You're able to now pick up the 10th overall pick, but now you're opening yourself up for more cap space. And for a team like New York, who is so young, you have a Jackson Dart, you still have a Malik Neighbors, you still have a Cam Scatterbo. You got to pay those guys eventually. Yeah. You got to open up the checkbook soon, and you're now saving some money instead of having to pay Dexter Lawrence, who I would assume is probably going to get the richest contract for an interior defensive lineman we will ever see.
It'll be a big bag.
You're definitely saving yourself some dough.
Yeah, definitely. Well, we have our reporter live at TD Garden, Lorena Rivera, who's giving us some more updates on how people are feeling about the draft. Lorena?
Okay. The Tennessee Titans have just chosen the 4th pick in the NFL draft. While Sonny Styles was projected to be drafted to the Tennessee Titans, Tennessee instead chose to draft Colonel Tate, the best wide receiver in this year's drafts. On the other side, the New York Giants just drafted Arvell Reese, also from Ohio State. The Giants are expecting to rebuild their rosters this year, as they ended 4th in the NFC last year. This is all I have for the draft for now. Back to you at the desk.
Well, we've got some news here at the desk. The Chiefs, Kansas City Chiefs, have traded up to the 6th pick for the Browns pick. They've switched. this is kind of crazy, I would say, for the Chiefs. I don't know exactly what route they're going to take here.
Yeah.
I'm super interested to see because I feel like, obviously the Browns need maybe a little bit more than the Chiefs do. But they really need like someone dynamic and who's going to help them explode in this coming season after their kind of fall off.
Yeah, totally. The Chiefs traded their number 9 pick, their 74th overall pick, and their 148 to the Browns to get up to number 6. So that's that's not nothing. So they must
That's
have
a
a
lot.
player. They must have a player in mind. We're gonna find out soon.
I think they may be going for a safety or a corner. I think they were crying
That's a
in
good
in that sector last year, and so now I'm thinking of maybe a Caleb Downs. I mean, if you're trading up for 3 spots, there's somebody hot in there that they're trying to get their hands on now, and I really do think that it's going to be. I would guess now, maybe I should bite my tongue, but I'm thinking somebody in the secondary. That's one of their biggest needs.
That would make sense.
If I'm Steve Spagnuolo, I'm licking my chops if I can get a guy like Caleb Downs
Yeah.
as coach. I mean, this is a guy who, coming out of Ohio State, might be one of the best defensive backs that they've ever had in their program history.
Yeah.
He, just out from the gate, even as a freshman, he proved to everybody in that room and in that college that he is a guy, and he is that guy. And he is going to be just such a quality NFL player. I talked about it earlier how I originally thought him going to the Giants would be a great pick, but to pick up a guy like Caleb Downs for this Chiefs team who had everything that could have gone wrong did go wrong, this would be quite the bounce back.
Yeah, especially, I mean, you mentioned they need secondary, and it's true. Trading Trent McDuffie away to the Rams this offseason just opens up a total need there, and I love Downs as well. I think he's such a smart player. His instincts and his feel for the game are pretty great, but, maybe they go cornerback as well.
Yeah, so we actually have the Kansas City Chiefs pick 6 of the NFL draft is LSU's Mansour Delane, cornerback, 6 foot, 187 pounds. Interesting pick for the Chiefs. I agree that going cornerback was a good move, but I did really see Downs falling into that spot in the 6th spot.
Yeah, if I were you, I'd start playing the lottery. You got that right on the nose.
No,
I mean,
it's a good call.
That's a great call. I mean, I'm a little confused at the trade, throwing that up. If you're the Chiefs, maybe they thought that a guy like Cardinal Tate could have gone lower in the draft, and or the Browns thought that, and they could have picked him at 6. But now that he ended up going to the Titans, they felt that, okay, let's trade back now. Look at our second best guy on the board. We probably feel like we can get him at 9, and the Chiefs wanted to trade up. They can get their guy. Maybe they felt like Mansour Delane would have ended up going to his hometown for at least university-wise in the New Orleans Saints.
Yeah, I mean,
could have gone to a team like Washington, but
they must have gotten scared because otherwise, I don't think Mansour Delane. Well, I think a really good prospect at the cornerback position. Maybe not someone necessarily that every GM would have given up as much as the Chiefs did to go guarantee that they get when they could have still gotten him at 9. Who knows? But I'm figuring they were getting some intel that either the Saints or the Commanders or even would have liked him.
I mean, we've also seen in the past that KC's kind of a go-and-get-it sort of team. They've always been like that. They're very aggressive. So this doesn't surprise me, even if it's a few spots. If they want a guy, they're going to get him. Yeah. And I think that, I know I mentioned Caleb Downs, but I think Delane is also a great pick for them. At the end of the day, they needed anybody in that secondary. I mean, Delane is great. I mean, 27 pass breakups and 8 interceptions over his 4-year career. I mean, he's really a true technician. He's great in man. He's great in zone. And now, mind you, he had the core muscle injury last year in 2025. I think that that's not the biggest issue. It's not something like a crazy torn ACL or something. But I think he's good. I don't think he's a bad pick at all, and I don't think it's fair to compare him to Downs or say that one's way better than the other.
No.
I think that this is
totally different players.
Yeah, completely different players, completely different teams even. And I think it's interesting. I actually had Delane going 9th to the Chiefs.
Oh, wow.
In my personal mock draft. So I'm very
proud. Just a little late.
It's just a little different than what I expected. I am kind of surprised that they jumped up to get somebody like Delane. I would understand if they wanted to jump up and get, Reese or Tate or God, Mendoza. I know Patrick Mahomes is there, but just like a powerhouse. But Delane is a really good quality player, and I think he's going to fit in really well in the Chiefs.
Something else that I could also see why the Chiefs made this move is just through the first 5 picks, just how unpredictable this draft has kind of been. We've already seen that it's teams, maybe making a pick that we didn't expect. It's the Jets taking David Bailey over a guy like Arvell Reese. It's the Cardinals going with Jeremiah Love when we thought they could have gone wide receiver, or they could have drafted Reese.
Yeah.
So maybe it's that you start to have that worry set in that, even though we think we still could get our guy, it's that if. What could happen if Mansour Delane ends up going 6th to the Browns, or he goes 8th to the Saints? A situation like that is totally possible. So I can understand more of that urgency in the Kansas City front office to want to make that trade up.
Yeah, I totally agree. It's definitely interesting, and it's good, that they jumped up and got their guy. It's interesting that they did give so much away for this pick. Do we think that was overall going to be productive for the Chiefs?
I think they probably recognized what we've recognized, in that this isn't the strongest of classes, and I think they probably really like Delane. I mean, you mentioned Allie, some of his skills, but he really is sort of the perfect modern day cornerback if he reaches his full potential for them. He's super fluid, as you mentioned, versatile, can cover man, can cover zone. He reminds me, again, I'm going to keep going back into the Eagles could be a Quinyon Mitchell of this year's draft, and I think Steve Spagnuolo's looking at him like, as you mentioned, licking his chops. We thought for Caleb Downs, maybe he was licking his chops for Mansour, and we didn't even know.
I mean, Spagnuolo's done a phenomenal job in his almost decade now as Chiefs defensive coordinator with turning corners into just absolute dogs. I remember L'Jarius Sneed when he was first coming up. There was Trent McDuffie, both of those guys are now gone. Yeah. But, we've seen Spagnuolo be able to really develop these cornerbacks, and Mansour Delane is probably going to end up being an all-pro now within the next couple of years.
I mean, he's not a bad, corner. I think we were talking about Caleb Downs. I don't want to make it seem like we're comparing him to too much, but I think Delane in and of himself, he's a really almost a lights-out, shutdown kind of corner. Correct me if I'm wrong, but he allowed 0 touchdowns last season. It was almost like his own Revis Island out there.
He was barely thrown at last year of how scared
I'm loving
teams
this
were.
Conversation, guys, but we do have the 7th
Keep
pick
it moving.
of the NFL draft from the Washington Commanders have selected Ohio State's Sonny Styles.
All right.
Ooh.
Yes. Super exciting. Senior, 6'4", 243 pounds. That's a big guy, 4.46, 40-yard dash. 43.5-inch vertical.
I
and then an 11-foot, 2-inch broad jump.
If there was anybody...
That is an athletic man.
Whoever had the best NFL combine, it was Sonny Styles.
Yeah.
He just absolutely, quite literally exploded into the top 10. NFL Next Gen Stats, they've graded him as their most athletic linebacker coming into this draft. And like you said, that monster frame, 6'5", 244 pounds, 4.46, 40-yard dash. He's someone that you're going to be glued to your screen watching the defense. I think probably for me, one of the best inside linebackers we're going to see in this draft.
100%. And you mentioned, obviously the athleticism just jumps off the charts, but people in the know knew Sonny Styles was going to go high and probably be a really strong prospect, even before he tested at the Combine, because of what he did on the field and the tape that he showed with Ohio State. He is another guy like Caleb Downs who is so smart, so connected, and has such great instincts and feel. He's always around the ball. He's kind of leading that defense from the center as that Mike sort of linebacker. And I think this is a perfect fit for the Washington Commanders, who have had experience with a late career Bobby Wagner on their team recently. They're going to want, oh my God, so underrated in the later stages of his career. They're going to want somebody. They're going to want somebody to fill in that role. And I think Sonny Styles is a guy who, his upside, him at his best, could be like a Fred Warner level guy.
Yes, I totally agree with that. And I think the Commanders are a developing team that have reached a new level and a new potential. Not to brag again, but I did have Sonny Styles going 7th to the Commanders.
Look at you.
Who's your insider?
Me.
I know. Like, pass Schefter's number over to us while you have it.
I wish I had it. No, I just guessed.
Yeah. Well, it was a good guess, and it's a good player. I mean, I can't really say more about Sonny Styles other than, you watch that Indiana-Ohio State Big Ten championship game this past year, full of, the number 1 overall pick here, Arvell Reese, Carnell Tate. Sonny Styles arguably the best player on that field that day.
Yeah. I mean, he had a background as a safety a little bit, I believe, too, and that kind of brings another level of talent and another level of experience and versatility to this team, hopefully. I mean, he's the kind of guy who closes in a flash. He's a quick guy. I think that for this team and this match, this is good. In fact, I'm a little surprised that he dropped as low as he did. I think he could have gone higher, arguably.
I think that's just the positional value thing, where like the inside linebacker, the Mike linebacker who's not getting after the passer every play, has kind of dropped in terms of how teams view them, and mostly in most drafts, I don't even think Sonny Styles would go as high as 7, even though I love the talent so much. I think he is benefiting from a little bit of a more best fit and also just best player available type of draft. And
best fit
I love
for
it.
sure for the Commanders there.
Yeah, I mean, we've just, it's been a broken record. I mean, I think I want to talk more so about where this Washington team is now coming into the season.
Give it to us.
Coming off of, this is a team who, they made the NFC Championship game in
what happened in that game, by the way? How did that NFC Championship game go?
Your Birds absolutely dog walked.
Boring.
It was not even close. So I think, expectations were still really high for this Washington team last year, and a lot went wrong. You had a lot of scary injury concerns with Jaden Daniels. There was that really nasty elbow situation in that Sunday Night Football game against the Seahawks.
Scary.
Praying for that everything's all right with him, and we've seen that. So, now you have your returning quarterback of the offense, and now that you're drafting a guy like Sonny Styles, that's the quarterback of your defense.
Also coming in with a new defensive coordinator. So I think this is another opportunity to maybe get something different in and develop this guy in a different way, or one that hasn't been done before with Washington. I think there's a lot of value in these newer guys being in positions of power here in these organizations and drafting and developing these guys. You know what I mean? I feel like I'd be a little concerned if they still had their old defensive coordinator, but I think that this is good for them, especially with it's a new leaf, turning a new leaf. I still think they're going to suck, which is good for me. But
hey, good for both of us.
I think Commanders have a lot of potential this year. I thought they had a great past 2 seasons, give or take. Not great last season, obviously, but that was due to injury. I think Jaden Daniels has a lot of potential to become a really well-developed player in this league.
I think it also would have been interesting for Washington. I felt like a lot of people also thought they could have gone offense there. Maybe that was the position that we saw a guy like Mekhi Lemon go.
Y'all are obsessed.
I'm a big Mekhi Lemon fan. Whenever he gets drafted, hopefully, maybe he goes to the Browns, which I'm now sorry for the death of his career, because that is where most young players go to die. It would just be interesting to see what we would have been talking about if Mekhi Lemon ended up going, because Washington still, I feel like there's a lot of question marks outside of Terry McLaurin. On that offensive skill position.
Been holding it down
I don't know what
so long.
I don't know what that running back room is going to look like. Yeah, Terry McLaurin had a really good year in 2024, but I still think that was a little bit of a flash in the pan. I remember when I was doing up my fantasy drafts and I see Terry McLaurin, I look at that, 13 touchdowns randomly in 2024. The talent is there, but I feel like we need to see a little bit more consistency from that wide receiver room, and maybe a guy like Mekhi Lemon would have been able to come in, because we've really seen the resurgence of a dominant slot receiver from guys like JSN, from Puka Nacua. We're sort of seeing this shift for Amon-Ra St. Brown.
Yeah.
A lot of these top receivers now, it's not just your outside guy, it's not your Justin Jeffersons and your Jamar Chases, it's also your guys who can dominate from the slot. And I think Lemon, from whoever is going to end up picking him, if they can follow that trend and see that there's a lot of strong production that can come from your slot guys, they're going to be able to capitalize on a really good talent.
Yeah, I like Mekhi Lemon as much as the next guy. I'm excited to see where he goes. I do think this is just an instance of Washington was pretty smitten with Sonny
Yeah.
Sonny Styles, and he was there. He fell to them. They didn't have to trade up to go get him, and so he's the pick there. Maybe if he goes a little bit earlier, they are looking at a Mekhi Lemon, a Jordan Tyson even, who is still on the board.
Yeah.
But I really think they had Sonny Styles in the building. They got to know him. They loved him. They loved what his mind is giving them. And then obviously you can look at the combine for the athletic stuff. It jumps off the charts.
I mean, I'm interested to see what you guys think about teams that do this dance where they're really, really good one year, especially after bringing in somebody new, and then just take a dive. You know, like, do you guys see Washington even with this pick being significantly better next year? Or even down the line?
I think down the line, I think they need to add a few more key roles and even maybe switch up some things in the front office. But I think they have potential. It's just the development. Obviously, we've seen a lot of change with this team recently over the past couple of years. And I'm also getting word that the New Orleans Saints pick is in. Pick 8 of the NFL draft is Jordan Tyson from Arizona State,
My
wide
guy's
receiver.
fallen.
Yes.
I know.
Yes.
Life is not giving you lemons tonight.
I can't believe I'm not surprised they selected Jordan Tyson. I am worried about that injury history. I mean, obviously, he had 1,100 yards in 2024.
Yeah.
About 700 yards.
Injuries caught up
2025.
with him more in 2025.
Yes, and he started to kind of fall into the injury report a lot more. But I do believe he can be successful with the Saints.
I am a little bit worried with those injury concerns, though.
Yeah.
For New Orleans specifically, because you're coming into a wide receiver room with a guy like Chris Olave, who's already had a lot of injury concerns.
Yeah.
I mean, luckily last season he very clean slate compared to what we've seen before. No issues with any concussions, thank God. But I will always say this, the best ability is availability. And when you're investing the 8th overall pick in a guy like Jordan Tyson, where there is a lot of talent, but there are some injury concerns, but then you're also looking at your own situation with a lot of your wide receivers, I don't know if I would have gone with that move exactly.
I think even with his injury history, I mean, if you look at his scouting report, he is very disciplined and responds well to criticism or critiques or anything from coaches. He's a quick learner, and he's good at making or fixing mistakes. I mean, he cut his drops from 7 on 113 targets in 2024 to just 1 in 97 receptions in 2025. So this is a guy who, can see what the issue is and can make up for that. And I think the fact of the matter is, when you're coming into the NFL and when you're at the combine and you're trying to make yourself marketable, when you have the injury history that he has, you have to compensate for that with your play. You have
he's
to be
become coachable.
Yes, you have to be a hard worker. You have to say yes to everything and work with coaches and try and fix things where they can be fixed. So I think he did a great job of that, which I think is why he got picked in the top 10 despite the injury history, because I don't know any other player with, an ACL, MCL, and PCL tears in 2022, fractured clavicle in 24, hamstring in 2025.
That clavicle is rough.
I mean,
It's
this is
But maybe
hopefully the guy
I think
We got it all out of the way.
He plays tough.
The only guy I think with that much injury history we've seen get drafted so high recently was a guy like Michael Penix.
Yeah, Michael
And how's that
Penix
looking?
had a lot.
I
I have hope.
I think he's a good player. I think
You're just a bundle of hope tonight, Jules.
I just want everyone to become successful.
Yes.
And
That's not the reality.
I think Jordan Tyson. I think Jordan Tyson has a good chance to become successful if he can stay healthy.
Yeah.
I don't know if Tyler Shuck is a long-term answer at quarterback for the
He's
Saints.
not.
Jury's still out on that one, but I
don't know
think
if the jury is still out. The jury is
the jury's in it.
He is not a long-term
I
quarterback.
liked what I saw from Shuck to end the season. I thought he did better
But
than
compared to
a lot of us thought.
other quarterbacks,
I don't see long
No,
term.
I
see
think we're going to
long-term.
see with Jordan Tyson with a little bit more help, hopefully Olave can stay healthy and they can form kind of a duo here. I will say about Tyson, he has a really rare combination of explosiveness with fluidity. Like, he is an explosive athlete, but he also, when he's playing free and healthy, can run some of the most fluid, crisp routes you'll see, and his deep ball ability is really strong. So I don't know how well that will play in to the Saints and what they want to do. And, to hype up my guy Danny here, I even think Mekhi Lemon maybe would have been the better fit for a quarterback like Tyler Shuck here at this spot. but I think they've got to get something. I mean, Olave's been out there on an island with the wide receivers of New Orleans for years now.
Maybe just to defend my guy real quick, this is Tyler Shuck, who did come second in Offensive Rookie of the Year voting. And I know quarterbacks can get very overvalued when I feel like it does, especially come to Offensive Rookie of the Year. I remember a couple years ago when I felt like maybe someone like Josh Jacobs should have won it, but they did end up giving it to Kyler Murray, I believe. But besides that, I think Chuck coming into the season now, especially picking up another weapon, maybe we start to change the narrative how we're talking about him from being a bridge quarterback to maybe a guy you can say, okay, I can see him getting to a second contract potentially, and just seeing how he can continue to develop in a second year with Kellen Moore as your head coach, who we know he can have a strong offense. I mean, like he did for so many teams before that, his head coaching job. I think the Saints team has some excitement in an NFC South that we know can be very inconsistent. It can be hit or miss every single year. We thought, or even within a season, we thought at the beginning of the year, we were calling Baker Mayfield the MVP. We were saying that the Bucs were going to run away with the division, but it ended up being just a very mediocre, close race of 8 and 9 teams galore.
And that Saints team really, I think, even won more games than they should have last year. You know, not that there's a ton of talent there, not that they overexceeded expectations in a crazy way, but I do think that there's something there.
Yeah. I totally agree. And now we have the Cleveland Browns have made their pick. The 9th pick in the NFL draft is Spencer Fano from Utah. How are we feeling? Oh, I saw an immediate reaction from you, Daniel. You are not happy about this one.
This is not Daniel's guy.
I mean, I think he's an explosive player. He's 6'6", 300 pounds, 822 snaps, 0 sacks.
It's pretty good.
It is pretty good.
Zero hits allowed.
But this is a historically terrible wide receiver room for the Browns. They have probably one of the most overrated receivers in the league in Jerry Jeudy. That's your number one guy. And after that, it doesn't get much better. There isn't really much hope that I see with this Cleveland offense. So, I mean, we're going into another year of their best receiver. It's probably going to be Harold Fannin. And when you already have a guy with so many question marks around him with Shedeur Sanders, or if it'll be some more Dylan Gabriel, I feel like you should have someone you can actually throw the ball to.
That's my issue with Cleveland. I think maybe let's figure out which of the 3 quarterbacks we're going to go with first and then kind of adjust around that. I think quarterback matters when you're picking receivers, and quarterback matters when you're centered around your offense and things like that. So, I mean...
But to the Browns' credit and maybe what they're thinking, QB does not matter as much when you're building the trenches for that quarterback of the future to come in. They might not have it yet. It might not be any of those 3 guys. So building from the trenches, getting a Spencer Fano, who might play tackle, they might move him into guard, who knows. But the size is there, the upside is there. It's a good prospect and a good pick, I think. We were bound to see offensive linemen go at some point.
Yeah, I totally agree. And we're moving kind of quick here, but we do have the Giants' 10th pick
New York.
in the
Wasted
NFL
no
draft.
time.
Out of Miami, we have Francis Mauigoa, guys. I'm not surprised by this one because it's the Giants, and I do think they need a strong player like him.
Badly.
But I also feel like they could have gone a little bit of a different direction. Obviously, they already picked Reese up a little higher. So building off that, I think it is, a decent pick.
I mean, I think coming into this year, or even before the draft, I was calling, as much as it hurts me, some flashbacks to 2007 and 2011, that this Giants team could be the next New England Patriots from last year. This is such a team that was really low, had a lot of question marks around them, but was able to take advantage of a little bit of a weaker schedule. I will acknowledge that as a Patriots fan. But there's a lot of hope around this team, and there's a lot of promise around this offense. You have a young quarterback with Jackson Dart. You have a really promising young rookie running back, or no longer rookie, with Cam Scatterbo. You now have a returning Malik Neighbors, who we know when he's healthy, he's one of the best receivers in the league.
But I think it's the health issue, too, with the Giants. Like, we're seeing some aggressive guys constantly getting concussions.
They have to touch that. They have to work on that.
Drake May had some concussion issues his rookie
think
year.
the
I
issue
remember watching it. There were some scares.
I think the
I
issue
was
with
terrified.
The Giants
But I think Drake May's a little
is the
different.
play, the style of play.
Yes.
They're overly, I don't know if maybe if it's ego or if it's you're young, you're trying to prove yourself. The
It's
reason they are
chaotic.
Yeah, it's like
hit is
Jackson Dart.
because-
We gotta slide,
Yes.
kid. We
Yeah,
gotta
it's
slide,
like,
bro.
yeah,
We gotta
you
figure it
don't
out.
do anything.
That's why I'm wondering, like, did they pick this guy because they're thinking this is going to cut back on injuries for our offense? I don't. If that's the case, I mean, you have to start from the source. Part of the reason these guys are getting injured is because they're diving headfirst and slamming heads against
But
the
now
wall.
you're bringing in a guy who can fix that culture with John Harbaugh. There was more of that fallout towards the end of his Ravens career, but Harbaugh's able to keep that team a consistent winner.
Yeah.
He was able to develop a guy like Lamar Jackson as well. Let's not forget about that. He was able to keep this team afloat. And, I really love how their draft is shaping up so far. I think they've been making some really great moves. And I will, I'll stand by the fact we can maybe say a year from now, hey, Daniel, you were either terribly wrong because the Giants are picking in the top 10 again, or, this pick actually ages quite well and, they're back in the playoffs.
Yeah. Well, we officially have our top 10. I'm also going to do a quick update that the Cowboys have traded up
Moving up
for
a
the
little
11th pick from the Dolphins. But we do have this top 10, and then we'll get into the Cowboys pick, which is definitely going to be an interesting one. I know you're really excited, Allie. But this is a really interesting top 10, and we have our reporter, Addie Koza, live at TD Garden with a little bit more on how we're feeling with the top 10 picks in the NFL draft. Addie?
Thanks, guys. As we just saw, the Kansas City Chiefs selected Mansour Delane as the number 6 pick of the night. However, earlier today, the Chiefs received some major news that the defensive backs coach Dave Merritt was arrested and charged with misdemeanor domestic battery against his own family just hours before the draft. Merritt was allegedly, unlawfully, knowingly, or recklessly caused bodily harm to a family member, according to a complaint filed by Kansas City prosecutors. Merritt has been with the Chiefs since 2019 and is scheduled to appear in court. The Chiefs were made aware of the arrest, but have yet to make a statement, but look to strengthen their roster tonight. So we will continue to follow not only their picks, but the situation as a whole. Back to you at the desk.
All right, so we do know that the Cowboys have traded up. We here are split between Reuben Bain Jr. and Caleb Downs, and of course there could be something out of left field. I'm going to toss it
with this draft
to you, Allie, our resident Cowboys fan. You are hoping for Downs in this kind of situation.
I actually really don't care. It has to be somebody in the secondary, guys. You watched it. We don't have to go into it because I'm embarrassed, but that secondary last year was abhorrent. That was one of the worst that I had seen in a long time, and I've seen some pretty bad Dallas Cowboys defenses. That was bad. I mean, we were like 32nd in yards allowed last year. I think we allowed the most. Yeah.
I'm loving how excited you are that they went up one pick.
No, that tells me
and now they have the 11.
Something's going on in
They have
Jimmy's
a
head.
vision.
Like the wheels are turning. Like this is like
they know something that
the
we
year.
don't.
Like this might be it, guys. Oh, I'm so excited. I just,
we have Dallas Cowboys Super Bowl over here.
I mean, seriously, I'm getting this excited, and then it's gonna end up being like a receiver or something. Like I mean.
It's going to be somebody so
now
random.
I'm getting worried.
I mean,
Mekhi Lemon.
That would be a crazy wide receiver room.
You know what? I would be
him,
mad
Lamb, and George Pickens, but no, there's no way.
Yeah.
No, there's no way. But, I mean, very exciting for the Cowboys. I mean, again, a team that was very
it's a team.
good.
It's certainly an NFL
You know,
team.
like, everyone was very hopeful for them, and then they just kind of started to slip. We're seeing some slips with maybe the front office as well, and some relationships with players on the team.
Yeah. I mean, I think offense-wise, there isn't a huge issue. I think there's a problem with execution. The talent is there. The talent is usually there.
Yeah.
The problem is execution. The problem is showing up. But defense, the talent's just not there. I mean, like I mentioned earlier, it's like what we allowed last year in secondary was ridiculous. I mean, we were fighting tooth and nail to the end, and we couldn't get in because of the defense. So I am hoping that Jerry recognizes that and picks something smart, because I'm getting nervous because he has a history of doing silly things. So now I'm
Which is what I'm worried about.
Tyler Booker was a great pick last year.
But I just
You've done
don't
it right
know,
a couple of times.
A couple of times. I mean, he's had a long go.
Yeah. I'm excited. We'll see very, very soon.
Yeah, I think I like, Ruben Bain's still on the board, obviously a great talent at a pass rushing position and edge position, which the Cowboys do need as well. You talk a lot about secondary.
I mean, imagine if they had like a guy like Micah Parsons.
Yeah. I mean, you trade him away and the edge is kind of lacking a bit, so you need to find a replacement for that. But again, Caleb Downs would be a home run here and somebody that I think that secondary can kind of build out from, as opposed to, maybe you pick a star corner, which they could do. They could try to find their cornerback of the future. But I think starting from the safety, building outwards with Caleb Downs, who can be such an anchor point for that secondary and that defense, would be really smart.
I just still feel like at the end of the day, Ruben Bain is still, not to say a consolation prize because Dallas does have the decision here, but he would still be a scary fit alongside that interior defensive line with a guy like Kenny Clark and now with Quinn Williams, adding someone like Ruben Bain Jr., what we saw that he could do in college, I mean, it would just be a scary sight for whoever's going against him.
Yeah, I totally agree. And, obviously the Cowboys traded up to 11. Miami's getting 2 fifth-round picks, and with the Cowboys' 11th pick in the NFL draft, they have selected Caleb Downs from Ohio State.
I love it.
I love the pick.
I hate that I'm saying that because I'm an Eagles fan. So.
I mean, I think he's been the best safety in college football for 3 years.
Yep.
I don't think there's really a debate on that. I mean, just explosive, 6 feet, 200 pounds. Just a guy who can really get it all done on a team like Ohio State, developing him throughout the years to get to the NFL. And it's definitely an exciting pick for the Cowboys.
I mean, he's great. He's really got those, pre-snap instincts. He's excellent in coverage. And obviously, like we were mentioning earlier, I think that colleges play such a huge part, unfortunately. But I do think they play such a huge part in who a team picks, because the culture at Ohio State, especially in that defense, that tells me that this guy is coming to Dallas with a different kind of mindset and a different kind of energy, and I think that's something that we need right now. I have said it time and time again, and if my dad is watching, he will agree with this, but the Cowboys have a culture issue. That is one of the biggest issues with Dallas, and it has been for a very long time. And not saying that this young, guy can come in here and make a difference on his own just based on where he's come from in Ohio State. But I think that it's a stepping stone. I think that he could come in here and potentially be a leader in this defense, a defense that like I said before, has struggled so much in these past couple of years. I think that he can bring something to us that I'm excited about. I'm about to be annoying and hop back on my delusional Cowboys fan.
Oh, I know you are.
I
know you are.
We'll see how the rest of it goes.
She does because I text her at the start of every season, and it's always we're going to the
This is the year, though. I can feel it. It's like a different feeling every year. It's like when
they need to fix some things before they can get to the Super Bowl.
Hey, we have 6 more rounds of this draft left.
We also have another pick in this round.
That is true.
We'll see
But
where we
no,
go with that.
Caleb Downs is awesome. I mean, we mentioned Ohio State and that defense. The reason they were able to run that Matt Patricia sort of NFL-style defense, so much of that was because all the players were smart enough to do it. And that starts with Caleb Downs. Again, just one of the most really well-feeling players, really good instincts, high IQ, flying around the field. And I think he maybe did not end up being as flashy as some people thought he might have been, when we started hearing about him early on in his career. But just the ability to fill so many different gaps on a defense in a secondary is where he really shines. I think he's going to make the Cowboys super happy.
I think a little bit of that is also him being a freshman and being in Alabama that year. And you're working under Nick Saban, and then you go to Ohio State's defense, and it's like his resume is amazing. It's great. I mean, it's one of the best in college football right now. And I think that that's definitely going to play a part, I think, in his discipline and, like you mentioned, his football IQ. It's outstanding, and you can't help but think that that has something to do with the fact, that he went to Alabama and Ohio State. So.
Yeah, I also feel like whenever we talk about the draft, safety's never the flashiest position. And I can even remember looking back a couple of years ago when Kyle Hamilton was such a highly touted prospect coming out of Notre Dame, and we all knew how talented he was, yet he just still fell into that middle of the first round to the Ravens, and now we're looking back and saying, how did that happen?
Yeah.
He should have been a surefire top 10 pick, and I think that we're going to see this happen again with Caleb Downs. I think he's going to be ultimately the steal of the draft. I've been so high on him, not to go on my Mel Kiper spiel of I think this prospect is absolutely insane, but I was so high on him like we earlier in the show. I just absolutely love this fit for Dallas, getting their guy, getting someone who can become the identity of their defense, set that tone, be that guy who people can look to even already in the organization and can say, we can really rally behind this guy and what he brings to this team.
Yeah, and they went and they got their guy. They jumped up, to get him, and I think maybe they knew, he might go. Even if it's one pick, you never know what's going to happen next. So I do think this is a very interesting pick, and now we have the Miami Dolphins, and they have picked with the 12th pick in the NFL draft. They have selected Caden Proctor from Alabama. 6'6", 352 pounds.
Yeah. Just a mammoth. Absolutely massive.
I mean, great pick for Miami. I think they're doing a complete rebuild, shuffle of everything that's going on.
They need everything. They sold everybody off. They're completely starting anew. I'm a little bit surprised to see Caden Proctor go this high, to be honest with you. I think this was a guy that's maybe more late teens, even early 20s, and especially in a different draft year, wouldn't be jumping all the way up at 12. But I think there's definitely upside to be had with him. I mean, you mentioned the size, but he's also super athletic to go with that. I mean, he caught a screen pass in college. That was
He's
were
very
using
athletic.
them. Bama was using him in interesting ways.
He's definitely been a very interesting player for Bama. I mean, All-American, 6'7", 366 pounds. I can't even picture that in my head.
That's the kind of height that's scary to be around.
That's a mountain.
He only allowed 5 sacks over 2 seasons at Bama in 26 starts.
Yeah, I mean, we're talking about, Proctor's size and how much of a force he's going to be and how he's such a very strong anchoring left tackle. But I am a little worried about, flashback to last year, we had some concerns about a guy like Will Campbell and his arm length. That's sort of my doubts or some of the things that I'm worrying about with Proctor. His arms clocked in at around 33 inches, around still some of that Will Campbell range. But for the tackle position, I think that it's easily one of the biggest things you have to look at. If you want to be able to match up against the best of the best, when you have to go up against some of the best pass rushers in the league, you have to be able to make that quick point of contact as soon as you can get your hands on a guy. And when you're already at a disadvantage, you already have to make up for so much ground, speed-wise and power-wise.
Yeah, I mean, he's got
it's worried. I'm worried.
We have our top 12 picks, and looking over it, it's looking pretty chaotic. I feel like we weren't able to really expect this to happen. We got 4 guys from Ohio State. And, just the top 12 in general, it's a very interesting class of people because we're not seeing all those quarterbacks. Yeah. And then with Caden Proctor going 12th, that is a little earlier than I would have imagined. And 2 trades, I definitely think it's an interesting class.
3 trades, yeah.
3 trades, yeah, you're right, to trade up for.
I'm surprised with Proctor because the thing about Miami that's interesting is they're one of these teams that need quite literally everything. But I think when 2 of your best receivers are gone in the span of a month, I'm a little surprised that they didn't go for receiver. Not to bring up Mekhi Lemon.
I agree. I was like, this could be.
I was just about to get on that.
I'm a little surprised
I knew someone was going to bring up Mekhi Lemon.
Say his name and he appears.
I'm surprised that he would not go to that. Again, this Proctor will be helpful for them too. They could literally use anybody. But you lost two big players on your offense, one of your weapons this past offseason. So where are we going to fill that gap?
They could have used a weapon. I think the Dolphins will definitely look to address that further down in the draft. Yeah. I think Caden Proctor, the arm length, but not only that, just how large he is and his playing size and his playing weight is going to be interesting to see if he stays at tackle or if they try to move him inside.
Yeah, he had some struggles with his weight. I remember specifically going through when we were preparing for tonight. it did fluctuate around even the 370-pound range.
Yes.
And, he was able to bring it down to 350 where it's at right now. And that's when he seems like he's at his best, when he's sort of around a little bit of a lighter range. He can, help stay on top of that first quick step that you're going to see with a lot of NFL edge rushers, a lot of those, professional talents. We aren't in college anymore.
Yeah,
this isn't Kansas anymore.
He's going to be in the same division with David Bailey, number 2 overall pick, who's got that speed.
Yeah.
So we're going to maybe get to see a couple of fun matchups there.
Yeah.
Maybe the Jets were the ones playing the real 3D chess on us.
Oh, Proctor's. I think Proctor's a great choice. I think he just needs to play to the level that he can play to. He hasn't always done that. Like you said, the weight fluctuations have definitely played a role in that. But he is very athletic when he gets down.
Yep.
And I think just playing up to the level that he can play at is going to be very important because we didn't see that consistently. I need him to be consistent if he's going to be effective for the Dolphins.
I think for me, I don't know if coming from Alabama, I'd be worried about discipline from him. I think the fact that he was informed that did his weight fluctuate a lot, or was it up once and then he brought it down and stayed there? Because I think if that's the case, I think that speaks to discipline. I think that speaks to quick adjustments and keeping with, the weight that you should be at. But I again, not to sound like a really, really broken record, but you can develop these guys. If there's any issues with discipline, I think that can be fixed.
Yeah.
When you're in the NFL, and you're making the kind of money these guys are making, you're going to tighten up when necessary.
I do think it's easier for us to talk about development with some other teams, but with Miami specifically, I feel like for the absolute culture nuke that they've just been hit with within the last year, it might be a little scary to talk about a guy that might have a little bit more uncertainty.
Sure.
This is a situation where you would try to go someone like best available, especially where there's so many holes in your team. But I do still believe, the rare athleticism from the size of Proctor, it could be interesting to see how he ends up shaping up as his career goes on.
Yeah.
Yeah, I second all of that. Again, Miami needed so many different things, and I think what we're seeing in this draft is not necessarily always best player available, but just fit and who these teams are liking personally. And I think that ranges, and I think that was harder to get a beat on in this draft than other ones in the past. There were a lot of differences across mock drafts from everybody, whereas I feel like we've gotten years where you can look at 3 different mock drafts from 3 different insiders, 3 different professionals. Top 12 are the same for the most part. And this year it was all over, and we're seeing that play out in real time now.
What do you think was the most unexpected pick in this top 12 so far?
Bailey.
It's easily, that's my gut reaction too.
Yeah, I would say Bailey with the Jets, just because it's kind of a jump that I don't think any of us expected, especially coming from Texas Tech. It's not one of these top, development schools that are really creating players every single year that are changing the league.
I think it's also the fact that if you take his position and take everybody else in his position and lay it out everybody in this draft, he's not the best of his position in the draft. So you have the second pick. Why would you not go? I'm still I'm still very surprised that you just go with Reese. But maybe we'll be eating our words a year from now.
I think
I have a feeling we will be.
I want David Bailey to know I was fighting for him a little bit.
If
he ends up being good, I had it back.
Yeah.
Just took me back a little bit there.
Yeah.
I think I'm most excited for Sonny Styles on the Commanders.
Me too.
I'm really
That'll be
interested
good.
to see how that plays out because he's just a really dynamic player.
I think I would maybe stick with either, same division, but I'd maybe stick with either Arvell Reese on the Giants now or Caleb Downs on the Cowboys.
I think
that's
coming for you. It might be coming for you.
I know.
Edwards.
The Eagles sitting down there in the 20s at 23, and I'm like, okay, what are we doing? Because you guys are coming to play. So
Yeah, no, it's definitely. I think every team has kind of selected their best fit.
Yeah.
But I definitely think it's interesting that they're not just going off who's the next best player.
Not a ton of that. No.
I don't know if that's the case in this draft, though. You know what I mean? I don't think there's a kind of what you were talking about, Everest. I don't think there's a solid list of who the best players are, if that makes sense, or ranked in any way. So I think it makes sense that teams aren't just going for, okay, this is the next best guy on a thing. I think it makes more sense that people are going for what fits them because this isn't a super, super flashy class this year.
Yeah, I think something really funny that, little bit of news right now, Fernando Mendoza has celebrated his number 1 pick by posting on LinkedIn.
Oh, is he back on
In
LinkedIn?
what other fashion would he
on the
do
LinkedIn.
it?
Imagine having that connection. Hey, he's no longer open for work.
I'm gonna go connect with him now.
You guys know that?
Actually.
You guys, I'm connected with Draymond Green on LinkedIn.
Wow.
Warriors basketball player. He was just accepting connections for a period of time.
Is he still open?
I send it. You never know because I had a.
I'm gonna guess
Hey,
he doesn't
Draymond, I'm
run his
coming.
own LinkedIn.
Yeah, I don't know, but I had a friend who was a Warriors fan, and he just sent it
Wow.
randomly at work. So I was like, "Hey, shoot my shot," and it panned out. But yeah, Mendoza's a LinkedIn demon.
Yeah, I mean, announcing that you just got picked first in the NFL draft on LinkedIn is next level. You know, like an Instagram post, I guess, but also we all knew this was gonna happen.
I mean,
so
do you guys think he had it like auto ready to send? Like he had this
Someone
ready to go
did
like
that
3
for
weeks
him.
ago, or he just typed it out himself tonight?
I think
he
typed
posted
it
it
out.
30 minutes ago, and it has 8,800 likes on LinkedIn.
Oh, I have to go like it. I have to go like
Wow.
It might be 10,000 by the end of tonight at this point.
I'm sure it'll be more. Like, I mean, it's definitely funny. I mean, I feel like people are really gonna like that out of a kid, you know. But overall, with this draft, we've seen it become pretty successful, and I think the Giants controlling with 2 picks has changed the whole way this draft has really gone, along with the trades. But unfortunately, that is all the time we have for our live coverage of the NFL draft. Thank you to Emily Champagne, Lorena Rivera, and Addie Koza, Daniel O'Toole, Everest Leach, and Allie Evans. I'm Jules Mazzolini. Have a great night, and thanks for watching.